people over here are going to be creators. And as creators, I feel the biggest problem that we face is that when we're creating stuff, we have to pass through this dark tunnel where you don't see anything at the end of the road, and then you're stuck between things and you don't know what you are doing, right? Uh, and that to me is the biggest problem for most of us. I mean, we are stuck in that rock bottom state. We don't know how to get out of it. So my agenda for today's talk is to talk about that road, something that happened with me. So with that note, I'll introduce myself first. Probably a lot of you might not know me. Probably some few folks I can see, I know them by faces. So I am the co-founder of Gameberry Labs. At Gameberry, we are known for Ludo Star and Parcheesi Star mostly. Our games have 50 million downloads, 25 million MAU right now, and more than 100 million in lifetime revenue. And we have done this in the last 6 years itself. We are Bangalore-based studio, and we have like 130 people right now. I did my engineering from IIT Kharagpur. Did it in ocean engineering. Ocean engineering, they teach you how to sail ship, but then they don't teach you how to make a career out of it. So that's a very different case. Anyway, so before jumping into what is my story, I would like to tell you a little bit about my childhood and how I have spent it. And as a creator, a lot of people over here, I feel, would be able to relate it. I was involved in painting, notebook graffitis, you'll see me doing all those things, sketching bike designs in notebooks and preparing a whole notebook of bike designs. I was dreaming of taking that notebook to one of the automobile company just to sell my designs, and I thought that could work. Things like that, like creating shoes, things like that, like a lot of creative stuff around that. And then I was a big fan of cricket, so I played a lot of cricket, I've done a lot of things around cricket. That was my childhood. So in summary, if you look at what I've done before going to my college, I was in love with creating things, and that was the end of it. And I never thought those things can become something tangible as such, which is why I studied hard, and I went to IIT because of that, right? But when I went to IIT in 2010, two things happened with me. One was that I got a laptop, which was the first time I had a laptop with me, and a super fast internet connection. The second thing that happened to me was I came to know about Facebook. And when I came to know about Facebook, I saw that this guy, a 20-year-old kid, has done so many things in just at that young age, which caught my attention very deeply, and he became my superhero. So I was starting to dream to become India's Zuckerberg, and this is a real thing that I'm talking about. And I was dreaming, okay, I will make certain things, build some website, and it will start to explode, things like that. And this is what exactly I was imagining 2 years from 2010, right? Exactly this. But then the idea was to make something, and that got me started with things. So the first thing that I started was this website called helpbook.com. I did not have domain by this time. I was just creating in my head a website of this sort. The idea was to make a website where people can create notes and share notes amongst themselves. But interestingly, if you look back at that time, there were not enough users or enough people to use these websites. But then I thought this was a great idea, so I started working on it. And then I get this feeling now that I don't know what I was doing back then. So next 6 months, I was just coding and coding with my friend, who's my co-founder now. I was coding with him and building this website. I learned PHP, HTML, everything that I can to build this and make it a reality. But January 2011, it stuck me in that dark period that, okay, this is something that is not going to work out. Very slowly and steadily, it stuck to me, and then I realized that I was wasting my time altogether. So I went back, and I realized that this was not working out for me. So I took a time out in 2011, and back then, when I came back after my summer, Facebook has launched business pages back then. And interestingly, business pages again got my attention because they were building a community out of it, And then they had an audience which were reaching out from those business pages. So, and I saw a lot of pages out there, and I thought, okay, let me create and try out a comedy page, and probably it would work out. And I will get a lot of audience, and it will be my Zuckerberg dream that I was looking for. And I built this page called LOL Center back then. Started, for the first month, I got around 400 likes. But then this post, specifically this post, it went like crazy. From a night, from 400 likes, I was like 6,000 likes the next day. And it was like, it was shared madly between people. And then I thought, there's something happening over here. So I got excited about it, started working more on it, spent day and night finding content for it. And then I reached something significant in this as well. I had like, after 6 months, I had like 80,000 likes, and that was big back then. People started approaching me, a lot of companies, saying, we want to cross-promo in your website and things like that. But the interesting thing that I took from this one was, I had a proof of concept that funny content was working. So I thought, okay, how do I make money out of it now? And the immediate thing that came to my mind was, let me redirect people from here to my blogging platform, and I'll test whether they are spending time in the blogging platform or not. So I did that. I exactly did that, created a blogging platform called lolcenter.wordpress.com. I was first testing on WordPress, and did that. But then when I moved people from the page to website, things were a lot different. They were just watching one page and then moving out of it. So I was clueless. I mean, what was happening? Why is it not working? But then it struck me, probably it is because WordPress is not designed for a navigation like that. And they're coming for a navigation which was news feed of Facebook. Like, it was super easy to discover content over there. So I thought, let me build a website which will give that experience to people. So I came up with this website called keeplolling.com. And again, went back to coding, like, again, the same stuff going on with me. This was 2012, and it took me like around 8 months to build this, and I had a really good website. Trust me, if you would have seen, I would have screenshot, if I had those screenshots, you would have appreciated what I built back then. But apparently, people were coming again, but not discovering more content or adding content to the website. I was hoping people will start to add content. So you can read, like, I wanted people to create and add content to it as well. But then it was not working. There were n number of reasons why it was not working. I mean, that's a different story altogether. So I remember distinctly in that summer, I was in Mumbai, and I had this Dhoni moment. I call this Dhoni moment because if you look at that movie, he was deep down in trouble at that time in this particular scene. And I had this moment, and I have spent like 2 years building things, and nothing was working out for me. I thought, what am I doing with my life? I was ocean engineer, but not interested into it, and there was no scope of career out of it. I was a programmer, but not had a CS degree, and I didn't know how to crack the CS programming interview. So that was the problem with me. So I was pretty depressed, not depressed, I would say. I was very saddened by those times. But then when I took a step back and thought, okay, let me wait things out, and probably came up with a strategy, okay, I'll focus on placements and then start working on something later on. So that's what happened. Went back to the same Jethalal moment and thought about something again. This time it was a new thing. Last time with Keep Lolling, what I realized was it was not solving a problem for people. So I thought, okay, let me build something which was actually solving a problem now this time. So I had this problem where I was creating blogs, but the blogs were not getting discovered by other folks. Now, if you want to solve that problem, you can create a centralized system where multiple blogs are coming together, more like a news feed or something like that, but exclusively for blogs. Now it sounds like Medium, but back then Medium was not present, right? So I thought, okay, let me bring this centralized blogging system, and I'll create a pretty cool thing out of it. So I started working on it. Again, created the first prototype. People were starting to love it. This time, people were actually creating content on this website, and they were people who were involved in it. They were enjoying it. But 2013, I came to Bangalore, joined my job. So then I was working over the weekends and doing it for another year. Uh, as the year passed, I started to realize that I was not able to give enough time to this idea, and so I said, okay, let me quit my job. So I quit my job, and I asked one of my friends to quit his job as well. And he trusted me so much that he came to Bangalore. And the moment he came to Bangalore, I realized what have I done, right? So, because the problem with mixing.com was, and after leaving the job, I realized after 12 days, I realized that I've made a big mistake over here. People in India were not funding a platform like this, and there was no monetization close to it. So very difficult chance to survive as an individual or as a team and get funding as well. So we realized that just in 12 days, and then we gave up on that idea, okay, let's not focus on this, let's do something else. And then again, the Jethalal moment for us. And this time we came up with halfteaspoon.com. This was 2014, 4 years from the dream that I've built. And halfteaspoon.com was pretty interesting. And what we were doing with Half Teaspoon, we were giving exact ingredients for anything you wanted to cook at your home. So it was something like this, and very well polished content, website, everything was ready for it, but users were not ready for it. That's the problem with it. So we spent like 8 months jobless. We were looking out for funds. We were talking to multiple VCs as well, and we got to pretty close to some rounds, but then eventually it did not happen to us. And then again, I had that Dhoni moment, back to that Dhoni moment again. So this was 2014 December, and I was again feeling that I've left my job. My father was calling me and saying, what have you done? When will you go back to job? And things were not in place. And even with my co-founder, it was not that great back then, right? So then I took a step back again, took a month off. Okay, let me take a break this time. And while I was having those breaks, I started to play those small games, Flappy Birds and the catch-up things, right? And it struck me that these games were pretty simple to build. So again, I had those epiphany, and I thought, okay, let me build this out. So I jumped into that creation again mode, and in January, I learned how to build Android games and build this game called Rocket Romeo. So this was something that I built in Feb 2015. And I thought the moment I'll upload it on Play Store, it will start get downloads, right? But that did not happen again. So I shared it with my friends and family, probably a little bit with my college mates, and tried to bring in traffic, created a Twitter profile, did a lot of things around it, but then eventually it was just 10,000 downloads and it stuck over there. So then I thought this time, the different thing from this time was I thoroughly enjoyed building this game. I enjoyed it so much that I was lost for those 2 months completely. And that moment I felt probably I belonged to gaming, because I was good at art, I was good at UI UX, and I could sense a lot of things from the experience point of view. So I said, maybe gaming is something where I belong, and maybe let me give it a try, go deeper to it. So this time, instead of jumping onto another idea, I thought, okay, let me go to a serious game development studio and start learning few things from there. So I went to a studio, spent 2 years over there, and then eventually in December 16, I left. Okay, now it is time to me to start something new again. This time, when I was starting Gameberry, which was 2017, I had like multiple ideas that I could potentially approach. And I was not going towards that route of jumping into a single idea this time. So I took my time out, okay, what do I need to build something successful this time? So my criteria was looking for something that players would like to play for longer. This I learned from my initial experiences that people were not retaining on the website. It was immensely difficult to retain people if they're not playing something for a longer duration. I wanted to avoid raising funds because of Half Teaspoon. I wanted revenue from day zero. That was very clear in my mind back then. And something that we could build with a team of 2, that was the major criteria around it. I did not wanted to get into operations like what I was doing in Half Teaspoon. So me and Govind, we both went through this checklist And then eventually the answer was very obvious that we did not wanted to pick the RPG word game or the multiplayer word game. We wanted to pick something that was organically people were looking out for. So that's why we built Ludo. And when you look at what we did with Ludo, my idea was, okay, we wanted to build a very great game and monetize it from day zero. So that was something which was controllable for me. And I call that controllables because you can affect that. You cannot affect result of it, right? But the 100 million revenue that came with it and the Parcheesi Star, which has 150 million downloads, that was timing. That was pure luck and pure timing. But the interesting thing that I take away from my whole journey from these is that when you look at it, there are two parts of it. There is business timing and there is execution of it. And when you look at business timing, you can't control that. You just can't control it. You can be at the right place at the right time, but probably getting it right, it's very, very difficult. So your execution side, you can control it, but it's not necessary that you'll be ready for it. And that's where the whole play comes in. So probably the most important thing from me, my learning has been, the execution is the king. People say, oh, execution is the king, but how to get a flawless execution is the most important thing. So that's what I take away from my whole journey, that when the time was right, we were able to have that flawless execution. And I believe that flawless execution will come with immense failures. You have to fail multiple times to get that execution right. And which is why I name it luck and grit together, because grit will give you that, those controllables will help you build that flawless execution. And luck is where you'll get the business timing right. So all in all, everything that I want to say is that for me, failures are just events. I don't take it very personally or very emotionally. I take it like, okay, this is going to be a weekend is coming, right? For me, failures is like those weekends coming in. And probably I'll keep seeing those failures again and again in my life. And I feel between those failures, I will learn a lot of things. But you have to be true to yourself. Like, do you really enjoy that process of creation or not? If you don't enjoy that process of creation, you will not get past this failure. So you have to be true, and then you have to start being comfortable with that failure that you are facing in life. So, and for us right now, I am still doing the same thing. As a company, initially what we were doing was, as a founders, we were getting better at execution, and business timing was what we were waiting for. Now, as a team, we are becoming that team which can execute flawlessly, and we are failing at it terribly. Like, we have built Bankrupt, we have failed at it. We have built Glamland, we have failed at it. We have built Glamdiva, we have failed at it. Lot of great things we have built. Traitor we have built, we have failed at it again. Merge Towntail, we have failed at it. So everything that we have done in the last 3-4 years, we have failed terribly at it. But again, we don't take it too hard. We keep trying those things out. And we're still hungry to bring out another game which could outshine us of what we have done so far. Right, so that's all, folks. Pretty simple from my side. I believe there are two elements at the end. Timing, business timing is there, and then you have the execution side of thing. Flawless execution comes with failed execution, and that's what I wanted people to learn from my story today. So I can take up some of questions if you have. Any questions? Yeah.
About the websites that you were building initially, and how each one was like initially starting from very idealistic and then slowly coming closer and closer to a better execution. I was thinking, for somebody who just started in the game industry, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, how would you recommend them to fail best in order to rack up that experience to get to a better execution?
Can you repeat? I lost the last part of it.
Sure. No, I was saying, as somebody who is just getting into the game industry, been in there for 2 or 3 years, how would you recommend them to try and fail best in order to get better at their execution?
See, when I say failures, I mean you have to look back at your own journey as well and try and understand what went wrong with it. It is not that you're putting darts at like blindly. It has to be well thought out, calculated, and you have to build those frameworks. I would say the framework that I was trying to use. I knew what was not working out for me. I wanted more users. I wanted it organically, right? And I wanted revenue flowing in from day zero. So you have to solve those problems, and you have to think solving those problems first, rather than thinking about coming out with a game. So probably build a framework around it of what you are good at, and probably what has gone wrong in the past. And if you're not learning from the past, then the failures will keep coming. I mean, you can't avoid that. But you have to kind of build those lessons for yourself and learn from it. And that will help you. I mean, in creative process, I've learned everybody's path is very different from each other. Right? Your process and my path will be very, very distinct. Probably I can help you in some regards, but I can help you only broadly. I mean, it's very difficult to answer that. Right? You have to build your own learning for that.
So if I understand right, that's like a framework of goals or pillars for you, for your own goals, and then each time you try to hit that, you will notice what's missing.
Yeah. Don't make the same mistake again and again. That's the only thing that's important. And if you're doing that, nothing will solve for anything.
Yeah, advice taken. Thanks.
Yeah, first of all, great session, Afsar. I'm a big fan of Ludo Star. I play regularly, so it's a wonderful game. One thing I wanted to know, like while playing this game, I saw you have introduced real-time engagement through stickers, audio. So how you see like that part helping you to monetize the game, or how you see this real-time interaction helping user to stick to the game for longer duration?
Heavily, yeah. So how I divide Ludo is again, when you're building a game, probably this could be helpful for you as well. When you're building a game, you have to start from player motivation. That's it. If you understand the motivation of player, you will solve most of the problems in the game. But building that understanding is the most difficult part. For a game like Ludo, there are two things that people want. One is a social interaction bit, and the second is a mix of competitiveness for them. So they like to beat other folks. So they want, when they're beating other folks, they like to express themselves more and more, which is why those real-time interactions are really important for us. And the better you do it, those interactions, the better they are mocking the other folk. Like getting a 6, they are mocking the other folk. So it is solving for that social motivation as well as this competitive motivation for that player. And which is why it works heavily, and it is why it makes it a lot more engaging. Those 40 minutes, initially I thought that 40 minutes is a too long game for people to play. And that is why I introduced quick mode in Ludo. But then I see more engagement in the classic version, which is longer than the 5 minutes mode. Which brings me to the point that your social interaction is the key when you're building Ludo. And not just Ludo, I've seen a lot of games that people are building right now. If you have a social interaction layer attached to it, it is more likely to be more successful these days. Because people love bragging, people love interacting with other folks. In terms of monetization, if you ask, the monetization will be lesser. You can say it like that.
Yeah. So and also, we share the same interest. Even I play cricket, so that was quite connecting. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Anybody else? Anything?
Hello.
Oh, yes.
First of all, great session. Just wanted to ask, how do you get out of burnout phase? Like, as developers or as human beings, we all get burned out during ideation process or like implementation process. How do you get out of the burnout phase?
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I was not able to hear it properly.
How do you get out of the burnout phase? That like when you feel burned out, like I don't want to do this, or how do you get out of it? Or you just push yourself?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. That's what I said. Here you have to be true to yourself. Obviously, I mean, when you are burning out, you have to take a step back and chill a bit. That's very plain and simple. You have to relax and you have to understand what is happening with you. You have to be aware of yourself, which is really, really important. And stories like this will definitely help you try to relate with somebody that, okay, It's not just me alone in this world, right? So that's one bit of it, and that's why I did this talk, because I wanted to tell people that it's okay to be vulnerable out there, and it's okay to take uh, time out from what you're doing aggressively towards, right? So take time out and be true to yourself. If you have to understand that, is it the result that you're looking for, or is it that process that you're looking for? And you have to fall in love with that process if you want to be successful eventually. Because the result, you don't have control on it.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Hello. Hello. Afsar?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, Afsar.
Yeah.
My question is that if you have seen the Instagram recently, there are all these junk games advertising everywhere. Okay, so if someone wants to start and keeping revenue as profit, should I get on this trend or should I focus on some quality games?
Yeah, I feel the way you put it up, when you say junk games, right? You meant.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I don't see any game as a junk game. That's the difference in the thought process. I feel if there is an audience playing certain things, there is certain motivation behind it, and certain business opportunity sitting out there. And if you can make use of that opportunity, and then you can do a lot of good things. If you feel that that's not ideally what you want to do, you can start with it, take care of that opportunity, do those things, and eventually move on to something that you want to do. So give it time. Like, don't miss out on business opportunity, and don't categorize things as good or bad. And I don't think everything is a business opportunity, and everything is a good game if there is an audience playing for it. Something of that sort.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi, Afsar. Sorry, this is loud. Hello. Hi.
Oh, yes.
Can you
I'm
see
really
me?
sorry.
Hi, Afsar. Thank you for the great session. This is Sahil Modi from Audio Mob, and my question is, what are your next experimentation in terms of ad monetizations? Are you looking into other formats as well?
Definitely. So definitely, I mean, like he asked this question, right, the last one. So what I've learned, that I was idealistic as him as well. Initially I was thinking that in our games we will not put ads at all. And that's why Ludo Star and Parcheesi Star does not have a single ad that surfaces in front of you. But then I've realized the market is so competitive that you have to move away from that idealistic point of view. So we have started experimenting in certain regions where we are starting to show more ads to the user and starting to surface things, because you have to beat the competition out there. Otherwise you will get killed. So probably moving away from that idealistic approach always helps, and that's what we are experimenting with ads because of that as well. So you'll see a lot more trials and experiments happening, but not at cost of retention, obviously.
So what I'm understanding is that at Gameberry Labs, there's a good relation with ad monetization, and there's an openness to experiment more.
Right. Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
Hi, Afsar.
Yeah.
Yes. So you mentioned about ad revenue and all, right? Now with the growth in real money gaming in India, with Dream11 and other companies doing really well, and even skill-based versions of Ludo coming up, do you see entering that space? What are your thoughts on it?
You mean the new policy that Google has launched?
No, I'm talking about players wagering on Ludo, wagering money on Ludo.
I'm really sorry. I'm not able to hear
so
clearly.
There are versions of Ludo wherein players wager money. Like Rummy is there, Poker is there, and even versions of Ludo are there. What are your thoughts on it, and do you plan to enter into that space as well?
Let me rephrase and try to understand. You mean there are multiple versions of Rummy and Pokers coming out, and similarly there's an opportunity for Ludo as well?
Yes. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, see, if you think from that perspective, I think this is more of a player understanding around Ludo. What do people want as a Ludo player? This question is more important to understand, and it will help you answer that. For Ludo players, the game is not really important. It is the circle that they come up with, or the people that they're playing with, is more important to them. And which is why they don't try even the quick mode of Ludo. The social element is super high in it. So if you are building a version which is inclined towards the competitive Ludo player, probably it can work, but then you have to give that competitiveness to them, otherwise it will not work. Right, so you have to think from the player motivation angle. I mean, as a Ludo player, what do they want? And can I give it more? So if you're giving it more in a version which works really well, I think that will click with players.
Thank you, Afsar.
Okay.
Hey, hi, Afsar. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Chinmay. So my question is, do you think in Asia and majorly in India, the games which are more easy to play and simple gets more viral rather than bit complex games?
When you say complex, do you mean hardcore?
Not hardcore, but like major games like pool, like 8-ball pool or Ludo. These kind of games get majorly played by Indian audience. So why do you think so? Like, and not more complex games?
Right. So, yeah, so if you look at India's population, people have not played games. Like, if you look at the demography, tier 2, tier 3, they did not have a PC or a console to actually try things out. And we don't have a really strong culture of going to arcades and then playing games, right? And which is why you'll see majority population in India, they are first timers into gaming ecosystem. So they are not so good with their fingers, they will not be so haptic, they will not enjoy that process. So for them, they're getting used to it. And this is the first generation of major population. A set of population is present who's good at it. They play console games, they play PC games. But the majority, 90% of the audience, I don't see them being really good with their fingers itself. So, and the whole coordination is not that great, which is why they try very simple games, simple to understand as well. So that is the major reason why I feel those complex games that you're talking about do not work so well with the audience. And majority, I think if you look not just in India, outside the world as well, the major population will always be the single interaction kind of a setup. So they'll always prefer what they can do it. And as a player, imagine if you're feeling bad about playing something and if you're not enjoying that process, you're learning it, finding it difficult to learn it, why will you play it, right? So as a player, you want to be gratified, right? When you try things out, you want to feel that you're good at it. And that is why simple games work so well with so many people.
Yeah, thanks.
Right. Okay, that's it. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.